Hello, and welcome to Too Stupid to Live, a podcast that reviews romance novels $5 and under. I'm your host, Becky Feldman, and forgive me, listeners, for I have sinned. I am confessing, yet again, to breaking one of the cardinal rules of this podcast with the book we are reviewing today. For it is, at the moment, $1, nay, 99 cents above the price limit I have set for this podcast. But, okay, in my defense, it is totally on brand with the theme of the book, given that the book we are reviewing today is Sinner by Sierra Simone. I owed my guest today, who's a return guest, a better book than we previously reviewed when she was first on, and I knew I needed a banger. Oh shit, that came out wrong. I knew I needed a banger of a book. Oh, yikes. Okay. Anyway, she wanted something that was like akin to 50 Shades of Grey, but better. And when it comes to a request like that, I cannot pull any punches for the sake of a podcast rule that only I made up, that only applies to me. And it's a rule that if I break it, it's of no consequence to anything or anyone, really. So, point is, I have no regrets because this episode was so much fun to record and you are going to have so much fun listening to it. One of my favorite and funniest human beings ever to exist, Erin Whitehead, is returning to the show. She is such a brilliant comedian and artist, and we had the best time getting deep into this hella sexy book. So please enjoy this review of Sinner. Oh my God. Erin. Oh gosh, I already sinned. This show didn't even start yet, and I said, "Oh, use God's name in vain."
Well, but were you saying it in vain, or were you excited to see me? Or is that like a banana in the pocket question?
Oh.
Were you swearing in vain, or you just
yes
happy to see me?
Yes to everything. Yes, but there is a banana in my pocket. I'm happy to see you, and boy, am I excited about this
we're in
that
trouble.
I needed to curse.
We are in for it.
Two sinners talking about a sinner.
Just two little sinners.
I know. Listen. This is why this is going to be the perfect episode. But Erin, welcome back to this podcast called Too Stupid to Live.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
I owed you. I feel like I owed
No. I always enjoy talking to you. That book.
The book. Yeah.
Horrible.
I'm great.
Yeah.
No, I'm great.
Lest your viewers should think that I was complaining about you. Just making sure everyone's clear. Your viewers, your listeners. Where are we? What day is it?
This is called Too Stupid to Live. I feel like people who are like listening probably think they're viewing, so we're fine.
Great. Great.
No, but I always I mean this lovingly, but when anyone's like, what's the worst book you've read for the podcast?
That's the episode?
Yes.
Oh my God.
But it was my favorite episode. It just was not like, if there was one book I'm like, I didn't like it. That is the episode that sticks out for me.
And that makes me feel better because I will say this is now the second romance novel I've ever read, that one being the first.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have anything to compare to going in, and I was like, I guess I just hate these books.
But I feel like I felt like I owed, like, all this time I felt like I owed you, like, this is an author that I love. I've like seen her in person and like.
Really?
Yeah. Some like there was like
What's her real name, by the way? This can't be her real name.
Oh, it's not her real name. And I actually don't know her real name.
Okay.
I completely forgot it. I wonder if she like didn't say it or something. But I was at some like, it was like a pleasure seminar, and there was like, my friend was doing like a panel on like erotica and all this stuff and like romance novels, and like she was one of them, and I like squealed like a child. Well, yes. That's weird, but I was very excited.
Like a little nun. Did you squeal like a little nun?
Squealed like a little nun. Little nun seeing Christ before her eyes.
Oh boy. Yeah, I would have been excited too. I truly was reading this going, oh, there's a plot. There's like a real, there's ideas being expressed here. Like there's conflict. Okay.
Yeah, there's like serious shit, and like she doesn't like the book itself, like I mean we'll get into it, but like there was like a lot of stuff in here where it was like, you know how like, how do I explain this? You know how like when you hear like Michael Jackson and you're kind of like, you know, like there's a weird
You might have to say more than that for me to understand exactly what you mean.
okay.
Like you're like the music is good, but we're sad about the little boys.
Exactly.
Okay, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes,
Like
yes.
it's always this weird thing of like you kind of like, it's like, yeah, I guess Thriller is a good song. I guess Thriller is a good song, but like there's the
Great
undertone of
song.
like, exactly. It's like, do we mention the terrible things that he's done?
Yeah, we're in a hard time where because men have ruled that now most of them are coming out as terrible, we can either throw out our history or have a complicated relationship with it.
Exactly. And I
And
feel
some things
like,
I throw out. It's hard to know.
right. I feel like this book does the latter, which I'm impressed with. Like it calls out like, yeah, the church is the cat. Like it's like, okay, well, I mean, I'll get to it, but it was like Catholic Church has a lot to do with it. And like they're like calling out like the Catholic Church was like corrupt, you know, like it wasn't like this kind of, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yes. I did too, especially because I thought maybe it was just going to be a very simple thing of sort of being like, oh, it's hot to go against what we would consider like religious, purity or whatever. But it
Mm-hmm.
really got much deeper into that. And like both families have this like history of like religious roles. I mean, I was
Mm-hmm.
just very, yeah,
Oh, I was captivated. But before we get to the
captivated.
book, captivated. How has your life since last appearing on the show? How has your life changed for the better?
Well, let's see. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not living in my mom's back room during the first 2 weeks of a global wide pandemic. So there's
Fair.
that.
That's great. That's great.
Whew, I feel like I just got hot even saying that. Like, and it's not like
Mm-hmm.
things are good, but that was so bad. I felt like I was in a fever dream.
Mm-hmm.
Which made it even funnier that we read this insane romance novel that took place on like the Oregon Trail or something. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
dear God. I don't know, Becky.
I know.
I mean, it's so funny because I feel like I don't know what you talk about on this podcast, but I feel like you and I have had some very deep conversations about common things we have in
Mm-hmm.
common. This is
Mm-hmm.
so coy and annoying.
Yeah. You could
About
be
like
blatant. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
about
yeah.
like sexual issues
Mm-hmm.
we've both experienced
Mm-hmm.
and like really good deep conversations. And I can't say that I've had a whole lot of like arc or change on that front, which
Mm-hmm.
also made it very interesting to read this book. Like what I was like, this is an awakening.
Yes. Yeah. I've been dealing with like and I thought the same thing when she was like talking about like the emphasis that you put in P and V sex, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what I've been thinking about this last year and a half of my life, was like exactly what she's saying, you know?
Yes, yes, and the idea that this is all stuff I should have. Well, it's all stuff I knew, I guess, but like reading it for some reason in the context of this novel, and maybe because it came from like I know a woman wrote it, so it comes from a woman, but she put it in the
Mhm.
mouth of a man,
Exactly.
and so I'm like hearing a man be like, "What's wrong with these men that are trying to like just fuck you like that? Like that wouldn't feel good to anybody." And I was like, oh right. And then the fact that he grew up reading romance novels with his mom,
Mm-hmm.
very like cute detail,
Loved it.
very odd that he was like reading them aloud to her in the hospital, but whatever. Like she's.
I'll forgive.
I'll forget. Oh, not even forgive. I mean, I was like on board, but also just deeply uncomfortable for him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Having to
yeah.
read these like sex scenes. But I was like, oh, of course, a man who grew up reading books like this would be far better at sex than a man who grew up watching porn. And we
Yes.
don't date men who grew up reading this.
No, we
We date men
don't.
who grew up watching porn, which is actually just bad actors having really bad sex.
Yeah, it's
And
not.
I wish I knew
Yeah.
that earlier. I always just was like, oh, I so don't relate to this. I'm never gonna be good at sex.
It's so weird because like I've been thinking about like timelines lately and just like, oh, like so much shit that I wish I knew earlier. And it's like, Yeah, I always say that, like, oh, here's a realization I wish I knew earlier. Like, here's something that I wish I knew earlier. And then it's like, I have to remind myself, like, yeah, I'm on my own timeline, like I have regrets, but like maybe it's fine. And when I learn what I learn is fine, like whenever
Ugh,
I learn it. I
that's
don't
so
know.
healthy.
I
I
don't
wake up
know.
truly with a heart attack of regret every morning where I'm like this like I in
Hmm.
order to calm myself down, I have to not think about just the simple reality
Yeah,
that
no,
is
I
my
hear you.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can't even like articulate the words, but like I have to like actively like I'm like this coach telling like there's a coach in my head telling like there's no race, it's not a time limit or whatever, just like telling myself like you're different than everyone, Becky, and that's okay. There's no one keeping score, unless you believe in God, which maybe that's
Well, and he's not keeping score in the way that, or she, as the book points out,
fair,
as a
fair.
nun in the book points out.
I
Another character I loved.
loved her.
Ugh, older
Ugh.
feminist nun. So amazing.
It was so amazing. Listen, I'm just going to get into it. Like, I think we should just talk about the book that we read, which we are, but
Great,
I'm going to
great.
read the synopsis so then, like, everyone, can, like, I mean, I'm sure everyone has read this, but regardless, or
I'm
everyone
sure
who's, like,
everyone has
listening.
read this.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, we're reviewing the Bible. I'm sure everyone's read it.
Yes, I would love your synopsis. It'll help
Okay.
me. It'll help me as well.
So we are reviewing Sinner by Sierra Simone, which is currently $5.99, which I have committed the sin of making it $1 more than usual, but I think it's on brand with the book's themes.
Yes.
And also, you had asked, like, we were talking the other day, and you were like, I want to read something that'll, like, erase 50 Shades of Grey. And I was like, oh boy, do I have something for you. And that was this book. So, synopsis. For Sean Bell, the holy trinity he believes in is casual sex, money, and his Audi R8. But he finds himself flirting with a new doctrine when he crosses paths with the alluring Zenobia. But the Church of Zenobia comes with a trinity of trouble itself. Zenny is Sean's best friend. Zenny is Sean's best friend's sister. She's 15 years Sean's junior, and she's training to be a nun. Even though she hasn't taken her vows yet, Zenny is on a mission, but this one has nothing to do with charitable work, unless that charitable work is the covenant of coitus she makes with Sean. He's volunteering his time and his bod to show Zenny the delicious wickedness she'll be giving up if she devotes herself to Christ. But as they get closer, both Zenny and Sean question their obedience. For Sean, it's the wall he's built versus his heart. And for Zenobia, it's the loving father versus the lusty daddy.
That was amazing. You wrote that.
I wrote that literally 5 minutes ago.
You could get a job synopsisizing these. That's not the how you say that.
But that's what that's literally the only reason why I'm doing. I'm wanting people to be like, there's someone out there who will synopsisize your book for you. You wrote the
I
book, you're
mean,
done.
do
I'll
you feel
synopsisize.
like, Becky, that you've read enough of these that you want to write them?
I have tried. Like,
Okay.
it's just, it's writing is hard. You're welcome.
I mean, look, you're already doing it. Writing is hard.
Yeah. Wink. That's true. That's a novel right there.
Mine would be so bad. Clearly, I would just do puns. Like just the
100%.
worst romance novel full of puns. I will say, and this is where I got annoyed. Like halfway through, I was like, damn, I should have been writing down every word she used for describing a penis, a vagina, and then actually having sex because she really had a great, like a huge number of them, and most of them weren't crazy. Like
Yeah.
some of them you're reading and you're like, folds,
Mm.
like it's not great. But like
Mhm.
I was surprised by how much I didn't get caught up on going, oh my God, manhood or
Yes.
like
Yes.
terrible
Yeah.
metaphors. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it because, like, well, when you brought up earlier, this is the entirety of the book, except for a few excerpts here and there, is from Sean's point of view, which is very, like, which is, I think, risky for a book that is in a genre that was initially started for a female readership.
Right.
I find interesting.
I was shocked, honestly.
Yeah.
I like on the first page, I was like, oh, it's from his point of view. It was truly
Hmm.
was very surprising to me,
Yes. And
especially a
so,
guy like
yeah.
that.
Yes. And the first book is, I think all of the books in this series are from the Bell brothers. Like, they're all, and it's like and if you listen to the audiobook, the author is like, kind of has like a cult following of lady listeners.
Oh, is the audiobook, did she get a guy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that
Yeah.
of course makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he has like like, I think that people stalk him on TikTok. Like, I mean, he has this insane, like, sexy, sultry, just, he gets it. He
Wow.
absolutely gets it. Oh, what was I saying? Oh, so what you're saying, but like, so anyway, like, I felt like the sex words in this book, like, it didn't bother me because it came from like his character. Like, I like, if I knew someone, like, if I read a character and like they use the word folds on a regular basis, like they're the type of person to say folds, I'd believe it. I'd be like, okay, fine, say folds, like, that's you, you know. And with this, like, he said penis sometimes, and sometimes I find like penis, like, it's like a whatever kind of word, but when he said it, I'm like, yeah, you know.
Well, but she said penis, right? And then didn't he always correct her and to say cock, which I thought
Yeah.
was very funny that he's
Mm-hmm.
correcting her from the proper term.
Exactly. Yeah, he wanted it like less medical.
And he
Yeah.
was very proud of her when she started doing it on her own. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
being proud of her in this, which was deeply uncomfortable, but
I
hey, it was
know.
there.
It was there. I
Not
mean,
saying I hated it.
there's no shame here.
It's
I mean,
weird
there
stuff.
was like everything in this book. It was like taboo, taboo, taboo. You have the taboo
Yeah.
of the age difference, the taboo of the nun thing, and something that I don't necessarily find to be that taboo, which is dating your friend's sister. You know, like, I know that it's like it's a trope people like are like into, but I don't know. I'm just like, eh,
Yeah, I mean, it was funny in this since the brother specifically was like, promise you won't hurt her.
yeah,
Uh, which I mean, I guess he didn't technically do, but I still was like, this was a thing, and maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, but I was like, oh, I feel like they should have tied that plot up a little. I wanted to see Elijah, which was Zenny's older brother,
mm-hmm.
like have some sort of like reckoning with Sean where he's like, okay, I see. Like,
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know.
And like, I also wanted Zenny kind of involved with that. Like, it's like, I have an older brother. They're so great. Whatever. They're protective. But like, you also, it would be nice to see her stand her ground because she is so
Yes.
forthcoming with Sean, and in like every other aspect of her life. Like, why wouldn't she be that way, like, with her brother? Of like, you told him to, you know, I'm in charge of my own body, my own choice. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
you're right. That would have been cool if she had like her own scene with
mm-hmm.
Elijah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The brother, not the prophet. Isn't he a prophet? I have no idea.
You're asking the wrong person.
I was gonna ask you, what is your, like, did you grow up with a specific, like, religion? Like, what's your relationship to Catholicism? Are you a nun is my question. Yeah.
I am a nun
Okay, great.
in
Mm-hmm.
practice essentially.
Aren't we
Um
all? Yeah.
so no, I was raised by two atheists.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that when I've described my ideal living situation to several people, they've said, so why don't you just be a nun? Because what I would love is to live, although I will say I'd prefer a compound. I want my own bathroom. I don't want a
Sure.
dorm, but I would
Mm-hmm.
love to live with a bunch of friends. Women friends would be great, but any friends, and like
Mm-hmm.
just have a shared community where we like cook together and do things together, but minus the religion. I've always said big
Yes.
love, minus the husband, minus the Mormonism would be my ideal situation.
Same here. Like, that, I would love to be a nun. Like, when I see things, like, even it's like, not, this is bad, but like when I watch Orange is the New Black, you know, it's just like a bunch of people living together and there's love there, even though it's a TV show and
Again, you
not
just have to
real.
take out one little tiny detail of them
Yeah,
being in prison, but
exactly.
otherwise
Just
so fun.
so fun. Just take out reality, you know, and then be like, great. Or like, even like when I was like in Wonder Woman, when you like see her living with the Amazons, I'm like, that sounds fun. Like, you're
Yes.
just like with your peers all day. You're just being yourself. Like, you have a schedule, you have your duties, like, everyone's respectful. Like, it is very appealing to be a
It's that
nun.
community thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so like I think I'm just so over living alone. It's
Mm,
been so many years, and like the little like the things that I think people talk about where it's like, it's so cool you're independent. I'm like, is it cool to pay double for everything?
mm,
I don't know how
yeah.
fun that is.
Yeah. I think like it's cool. Like I find it like I like not having to make your own schedule. Like, you know, like cuz like we're both out here like independent, we're artists, you know, we're in the entertainment industry. Day-to-day life is like we really have to like take charge of our own schedule. It's not like we clock in, we clock out. And I think for me that's hard and I would love a life where I didn't have to do that. Not really, but I would.
Like, I mean, in that, do you mean like you would like a life, like a job with a schedule, or you'd rather have like a partner or people you lived around who were like encouraging? Because I think I
Yeah.
feel like I would like people who are like, okay, we're gonna do this fun thing tonight, so you should write for 2 hours. Like somebody who's
Yes.
like pushing you to do the
Yes.
thing. Because I mean, I can just sit here and I've scrolled my life away.
Me too. I would love that. Like the idea of like it doesn't need to be a set schedule. Like even it's almost like a chore chart, you know? Like it's like,
Yeah,
hey, like I'll switch things up, but just someone tell me what to do.
I am so with you, and I show up so well for other people. I just don't show
Yes.
up for me.
Oh my
There's a
god.
chore wheel in my heart. I just don't look at it.
Neither do I. It's
Yeah.
like why spin a chart where there's no one to spin it with? Just don't do your
Oh,
chores.
singing my tune.
Uh.
Well, and that kind of takes us to like another part, which is
Mhm.
that, wait, should we, how do you want to do this? Because I feel like I'm jumping
Mhm.
too far forward.
We can jump wherever you want, but like maybe we could start with like they first meet
Yes.
like we meet Sean Bell. He's like brokered a deal. He's so excited. He like goes to like this fancy gala and he sees this woman who he does not recognize, but just completely enthralled with her.
Yes.
And it turns out it's Zenobia. He learns later that like he is his best friend's little sister who the last time he saw her she was like 6 or something. She's
Yeah.
now a woman and she's about to be a nun.
Right. Right. And he
Yeah.
doesn't know that the night they meet. The night they meet, he
Hmm.
thinks she's just this mysterious woman that he might never get to see again.
Yes. And then he gets like right before they kiss, they get this call, or he gets a call about his mom, and his mom unfortunately is in the hospital, and he is. I loved his relationship with his mom.
I did too. And I loved his mom.
Me too.
Yeah. She's in the hospital with cancer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when she, like, I think what it was, it when he was going off to college once, she like saw that he had snatched like a romance novel, and instead of like trying to shame him, she just like started sending him all these other ones she liked, and so then they had
Yes.
this like relationship of trading them back and forth, which was really sweet.
It was so sweet. And he still reads romance
He
novels to
still
this
does.
day.
He has like a collection of them.
He has a collection. There was a shout out to actual author Sarah McLean in it when he was like going through his books. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I know that author.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved that she set that up because it was like it made so much sense that even though he's billed as this like casual love him and leave him guy, that he's reading these books where like apparently he's learning how to be a very good partner and respect women.
Yes. Like he has a lot like what's so fascinating about his character is that he has a lot of knowledge of what to do that's right. Like he knows right from wrong real well. But he's just
Yeah,
like I'm going to do the opposite because of XYZ. I mean, he's had a lot of trauma in his life, you know, like with his
he
sister.
has. Yeah. And in
Yeah.
fact, the wrong that he's doing is almost more like he's just, it almost felt like he just sequestered himself off from like certain things. Like he was like, I'm not going to fall in love. So I'll just
Mhm.
sleep with what I forget what they call it, sex workers, and like,
Mhm.
what was the other thing they
Like
called them?
strippers
Well,
or
strippers, but it was like, I think it was just like other rich women who wanted a fling, but they called
yes.
it something very funny. I don't
Oh
remember what.
yeah, like it was like someone's wife, or you know, like kind of like the
Yeah,
women who sleep with Patrick Swayze at the camp and Dirty
that's
Dancing.
exactly who it was. Although I'm sure they weren't like, I'm sure they
Yeah.
weren't that old, but like, yes, thank you. That's
Hmm.
so fucking funny. That
Like
exact type.
users, yeah, because it is a
Yeah.
type, you know, and he's like, I don't mind, and it's like he's not realizing how destructive it is to his sense of self. He is carrying this poor rich man. That's all I said again and again. This poor rich
Poor rich man,
white
millionaire.
man. This poor millionaire. Ugh.
Yeah. With so many brothers.
So many brothers. He
None
has,
of them are picking up the this is my brain. None of
yeah,
them are helping out with mom. Just it's
nope.
really all on him.
Yeah, he's the responsible one. And that to me I thought was very interesting because it's like I feel like the kind of when you see like stories about like the Playboy millionaire, they are just like so I don't know, you just see them with like two ladies on their arm every night and they're just like the inside of their mansion is an orgy constantly and like
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like this guy's actually kind of like nice and dorky.
Yeah, he like turned and he's easily flustered. Like, and even in that first scene, she like laughs at him and she's like, "Are you preening?" And he gets
Yes.
very flustered in it, which I was like, "Oh, that's funny."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was like something that I liked about her was like she's 21 and there's something about it that like is a little like cuz like I was an idiot when I was a 12-year-old when I was 21. You know, like I was just not
It sounds very young. She's still in college. She lives in a dorm, which felt
yeah.
icky. Yeah.
Mhm. But she would say things like that or like say something else that is like was something that felt revelatory at 30 years old. And she's like 20, like she felt her character felt older, I guess,
Oh,
than
for
her
sure.
age, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
an old soul,
Old soul. Yeah, yeah,
young vagina.
yeah. Old soul, young vagina. That's what's gonna be on my grave. Here lies Becky. Old soul.
Young vagina.
Could you imagine like going to the doctor and be like, well, like, listen, you are aging, but your vagina is so young.
Doesn't it seem that would be like a Sex in the City episode?
I know.
It seems like
Yeah.
Charlotte would be like, it turns out my vagina is 5 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
honey, my vagina.
And it's like, so now when I introduce myself, I say that I'm 50, but my vagina is 45.
Yeah, I just add the two ages together and split the difference.
I know, it's easy. Yeah, because like in my head I'm 50 and like in years I'm 45 or I'm 50, but like in vagina years, you know, you just divide by 2 and cut it in half.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my gosh. Sex in the City, right? They really just defined it defines my life.
Same. There's very few scenarios that I can't find an episode that match.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
my head just does it automatically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, oh, okay, but so Zenny then she it does come out that Zenny is Elijah's little sister and Sean's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh boy," you know. And
Yeah.
then she shows up and she's like, "I have a favor to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to fuck me."
Yes.
And I was shocked.
Stunda.
I thought he was going to be the pursuer, but no.
Yeah. That's why I loved this book and why like I recommend like why when you mentioned the 50 Shades thing like oh like this author and this kind of scenario came up because she has so much agency for someone who has never had sex before or you know
Yeah,
character trope wise, you know what I mean? And I was just the level of consent in this book made me so comfortable.
it really was like it was we're going to talk through every little part at every oh sorry,
Mhm.
my sleep meds alarm went off. I'll push it. Um,
I'll remind you when you when
I'm
we're
so old. My God. Uh, wait, what was I just saying?
take your sleep meds. Oh no, no,
Oh,
I just
consent.
now yes, consent.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
Hmm.
really did. Like, I felt like at every given interval, it was like, do you want to do this? Is this comfortable? Are we going to do
Hmm.
this now? You know, like it was so talked through. I feel like this is the
Hmm.
piece of like consent that we were so misled in the 90s,
Yep.
where it was like, if a guy was like, can I kiss you? It was like, you can't he just like feel it out in the moment? That's so gross. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, what? What? No, it's so
Hmm.
hot to
I
have somebody
know.
check in at every second because it also
Hmm.
forces you to verbally be like, yes, I want you to do this thing. Like, that's
Yeah.
hot.
It absolutely is. It's like making like like she like even says like this conversation is awkward and like it's like this awkward conversation that they have but it ends up being so sexy because you end up kind of revealing yourself and they reveal like their boundaries, their experiences, things like that. And it's like, what a great conversation to have. And it is like, it's like connection is sexier than pretending to know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the idea that it's somehow a deeper connection if you're reading each other's minds, which we know doesn't work in any other part of life either. So,
No. Yeah. Yeah. It's just this like kind of like romanticism that's been like built up because everyone's afraid to like listen to women.
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
The end.
You summed it up. That's it.
Yeah. So she, what I really liked about this is that she comes in not having a lot of sexual experience, but having a lot of opinions about sex, about like, you know, he asks her if she's a virgin during this
Right. And she's
scene.
like, half or sort of. Because
Mm-hmm.
then, oh, yes, sort of. Because then
Yeah.
he calls her my little sort of virgin. And even though they have a whole conversation about virginity being a construct, which I was
Yes.
like,
I
wow,
loved.
cool. We haven't
I,
even had sex yet. Here we are.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then he did refer to her as my sort of virgin. So I was like, well, it's not that much of a construct in his mind. He still thinks
No.
it's pretty hot.
And even she knows. Like she's kind of like he's like, "Are you a virgin?" She gives her whole speech about how it's a construct. Then she's like, but and then it was almost funny. Like she's like rolling her eyes. But in terms of what I know you're asking, sure, fine, yeah, you know what I mean? And
Yes. Yes. And she had had half sex with the guy where he was like halfway in, it
mm-hmm,
hurt. So she told
mm-hmm,
him to stop.
yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he, you know, which I thought again very powerful scene. And I loved how I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like when we think virginal, I think you kind of like I think as a society our brains kind of equate it with being infantile, weak, and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, you know, Zenny is virginal, but she wasn't any of those things. Like she wasn't infantile, she wasn't weak, and she wasn't dumb. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this was great, I loved this.
Yeah. They had a little bit of a father-daughter dance,
Mm-hmm.
but she wasn't, you're right, she wasn't infantile. And they even had conversations about it because he was like, I'm very controlling. And like, if you move in here and we start to do this, like, I'm going to be controlling about how this works. But then they agreed that she could call him an asshole at any time and he'd stop. And he
Yes.
did, because she
Mm-hmm.
did do that at one point. And I was like, yeah, this is very different. Because what I didn't like about 50 Shades, and I think I told you I
Mm-hmm.
had to skip to the movie because I
Mm-hmm.
thought the book was so bad. I hated the like rules about making working out,
Yes,
the
it's yeah.
meanness. I was, none of it turned me on. Like, and I was like so the opposite that it was like making me angry to read. Like there was no
Mm-hmm.
turn on.
Yeah. He like never once asks, "Is this okay with you?" You know, like
Yeah.
in 50 Shades. And like this he's only asking if this is okay with
Only
you.
at every second. Yes, he's very
Yeah.
caring.
Mhm.
And
And
you
that's
also see
yeah.
him like fully start to fall in love with her immediately, which I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I'm on board. This is the book I want to read. I love that he was like
Yes.
trying to hide from his feelings and dealing with this
Mhm.
dying mom, and like this guy was a fucking mess. I even though he's
Oh,
so controlling and rich and like yeah, I loved
yes.
it.
I loved it too. It was like almost funny to me like okay, he reads romance like I don't know, not that I needed it called out, but as someone who reads romance novels all the time, like he reads romance novels all the time, finds himself quickly falling in love and like knows exactly what to do and like does it. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess this is like a novel. And it's like, you didn't think that 5 seconds when you saw Zenobia for the first time. Like, come on, Sean. You're a romantic.
That is funny. Yeah, I wonder if he had so separated himself from those books,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess so. Cause like sometimes cause like I read these books and I am also like very not romantic like in life, you know, and it's like, oh, I guess he just like sometimes maybe you avoid looking for the signs of like real connection because you're just like in this zone of like putting up these walls. I don't want to fall in love. I don't,
I
you know,
mean, I
whatever.
do not live my life based on the movies about love that I love when I think
Yeah.
about it. Like, I don't even
Mm-hmm.
see, like, I'm very much like, oh my God, I love these movies. I want to be this. I want these relationships. And then in
Mm-hmm.
life, my own set of issues was what like steps forward to take the stage. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
honestly can't. So I sort of get that. I can see
Me
that he's
too.
like, maybe his attachment style or whatever you want to call it,
Yes.
all his
Yeah.
trauma from because his sister died.
Yes.
That's a huge plot point in this because his
Mm-hmm.
sister was molested by a priest
Yes.
and then
Mm-hmm.
killed herself.
and she killed herself. And it's interesting because that is brought up. It is a big part of the first book as well, because it's why his older brother became a priest. He
Right.
like so it was kind of like in the aftermath of this horrible tragedy, like this is how all of the Bell brothers reacted. Like he went towards the church, Sean went away from the church. The families had, had their schism and things like that. And oh wait, where was I going with this? But yes, but you could still see that it wasn't like, it was nice to see that kind of plot line. It didn't just like kind of like end in the book one. Like this is a serious thing that is going to permeate like the rest of the series, obviously. And here he is falling in love with someone who like exalts the very system that like killed his sister, more or less.
Yeah. And he says he doesn't believe in God anymore. And there's
Mm-hmm.
that very sweet memory he has of he's at the wake for his sister, or whatever they call it. Because I don't know what they call it for Catholics, but
The Shiva?
he's there.
No, that's not it. That's very Jewish. The Christian Shiva, the Catholic
Yeah,
Shiva.
sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's like overwhelmed, and he goes upstairs to the bathroom, and he's just like about to lose it. Like he's like panicking and crying, I think. And like this little kid like knocks on the door and is like, "Sean, are you okay?" And he's like, anyone else, he said he would have been so mad, but it's like his friend's little sister. And so he's like, yeah, I'm okay. And to try to like comfort him, she just like slips a book into the door, and it's a romance novel. And that's the first one he ever reads. And like sitting in the bathroom reading it is what calms him down.
Yes.
Which did make it very cute that then they meet. That was very
Yes.
sweet. It was a little Jane Austen-y with the like, you know how in Jane Austen, like the guy will essentially raise his wife.
Yes.
Like he'll hold her as a baby, and then
Sure. Yeah. Because they're like daddy husbands. Sure.
Why meet your wife when you can just raise her up,
Just grow her. Grow
the wife you want.
Build the wife you want to live.
Yeah.
I kind of loved it because it was also like, I don't know. I consider myself an atheist, but if this is a world where there is some sort of divine force kind of manipulating everything here, it's like, oh, that's where it would be, like this is kind of the thing that's like manipulating their lives, a romance novel. The power of romance.
Yes.
Very sweet.
The very first sex scene to me was the best one in the book.
Okay.
Which surprised me. You may not have the same experience. To me, it was the hottest one.
The first sex scene, like when he like fingers her for the first time, or like, is there P&V?
Yeah, I guess they didn't even.
Yeah.
I thought that encounter was actually the hottest scene.
Agree. I thought that scene was very hot. I love the vibrator scene. Again, no penetration.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because like
that one didn't. For some reason, that didn't do it for me as much. Because I think when he was like, "Boy, she took to that vibrator, so my little nun," and I was like, "Oh boy, I don't know about this."
He was so proud of his little nun.
He was so proud of her. But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. There was one sex scene that, boy, I would have switched it out for something else. I think you know what I'm talking about.
In the
homeless shelter kitchen.
That made me anxious. There's like
I could smell the vegetable oil with which he lubed his cock before sticking it in her butthole.
I was like, I like learned recently that there are like in flour, like there's like 10% dead bugs in it. And I'm like, what if there's like flour everywhere and like flour particles are getting up her butt, and what if it's one part of the bug parts? I sound insane right now.
No, I didn't know that, but that's horrifying.
But there's like so much like contaminants in like food, and it's like you're here and it's just, I don't know. Like it's,
the bacteria in the kitchen. I mean, also in a kitchen that's used by like a public place. It's not even like his kitchen.
Exactly.
This is like many people are in and out of this place.
Like so many people could be butt fucking in that place like all the time, and like and when they're alone, and it's like you're not, you know what I mean? It's like,
I know. I feel like
so many germs.
She even said that at one point. Like he goes, "Oh, is it okay to throw the condom out here?" And she was like, "It wouldn't be the first condom thrown out here." And I'm like, okay, well, gross.
I know. It's like, it was like, I don't know. Yeah, like it made me like sad because I was like, I wish this was more sexually empowering as opposed to like maybe sad.
I like because it's the scene where he then like kind of slips and
Mm-hmm.
says to her like I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to be I wished they had just had sex, but that he had like decided to like stay inside her to come, which was one of their things. He was like,
Yes.
I'm never gonna come inside you, which I didn't really he had like a whole rationale of like, I won't use you for pleasure. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Jacking yourself off right after being very turned on by her is still you're still getting pleasure from her, but
Yeah,
whatever.
it was very like that was like semantics,
It was an
dude.
odd rule. Yeah, I think it was so that when we
Yeah,
got to it, it would be very
right.
meaningful, which it was. But
It
but I
was.
kind of wish they had done it in the kitchen so that then when he said I love you, he would be in such a vulnerable place. Because instead, I was like, oh, you just like rammed her. I mean,
Yeah,
not the time, my friend. That's
I
not when you say.
know. And he even like points it out. Like there was one line, like he was like, because like like they have like a nice moment, and then she's like, I want to try anal here and now, and he like is about to tell her that he loves her, and then at the same time she's like, I want to try anal, and he's like in his head is
Yeah.
like, is this an ass conversation? This isn't an ass conversation. And he
Right,
has to
right.
like
Yes, you're right. He
wait.
does he realizes it. Yes.
Yeah,
But then he can't stop himself. Yeah.
I know, which understandable. It is funny because remember how like I don't know, I don't even know if it's still a joke anymore, but or you know, but like remember how like 10 years ago it was like, hey, you know when your wife loves you when you let her butt when she lets you butt fuck her, you know what I mean? And then it's like that's when he says he loves her is like after that, like I don't know, I just like kind of like jumped back to like the comedy of the 2010s in a way of
That's
like
so funny. I don't know if
yeah.
I remember that, but I do maybe it's because I have IBD and I am like
Mm-hmm.
precious about my fucking sphincter and I will not do
Same.
anything to stretch it out because I really need it.
Yes.
Like the idea of I'm
Mm-hmm.
always so worried for women's buttholes. I'm like, you don't understand. You're going to need that muscle for the rest of your goddamn life. Like,
I
you don't know
know.
what kind of diarrhea you're going to have down the line. Save it, honey.
I like don't understand like why there I need like 2 weeks of preparation like to prepare myself like mentally, physically for anal sex in terms of like the probiotics and my diet. You know what I mean? Like if
Can
I
I
am
wait? Are you saying you hypothetically or that's how you whirl?
oh no, hypothetically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
I
shouldn't have even asked that. This is a podcast. You don't have to tell me anything at
I'm
all.
and listen, everyone knows everything about me on this show.
I wondered.
So
I didn't know how much you tell.
I talk about everything. I don't care. Listen, people can turn it off. You can easily turn off the podcast if you
It's
don't
so
want to
easy.
hear.
Come on,
Yeah,
turn it
it's just
up.
like you hit pause. Oh wait, what was I saying? Oh, like I think it's like spontaneous anal sex. I think like is I find very jarring. Like
Yes, yes.
because like I feel like art because of body stuff, you know, I just like think of my own body and my own experiences and just like being like that's the one spontaneous sex act I can't do, but like it's like
And they used vegetable oil
yeah.
from the cupboard. So all I'm picturing is this like not even Wesson, but like whatever the fucking store brand giant
Yeah.
cost like and you know how it's like all vegetable oil just kind of smells
Ooh.
rancid, like even if it's not rancid, it's like not
Yeah.
a good smell. At least if he could have been like, oh, good, there's coconut oil here or something.
I know. But like at
Vegetable
some
oil?
yeah, like I mean, I have contact dermatitis again, you know, and it's like I am very very sensitive skin,
Yeah.
particularly in my butthole area. And it's like I need to look at every single fucking ingredient on anything that I'm putting anywhere in my undercarriage. Like, you know, like and just to like spontaneously just like take it and not check if there's like parabens or like
Oh
whatever.
well,
Like
and there certainly are. There's GMO corn in there. I mean, come on.
I know. And it's like, is this water soluble? Like, is this, you know, like, is this going to affect my pH? Like, it's all of this stuff that I in real life would think about that I'm just like,
Yes. I would
it's like those, yeah.
never let a guy fuck me in any hole with vegetable oil.
No.
Never. I
Yeah.
don't even eat it. I don't even eat vegetable oil.
I don't
I will
even,
not cook with it.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, Is olive oil vegetable oil, or vegetable oil is
No.
this whole thing?
Vegetable oil is a different thing.
Okay.
I think the healthy ones are coconut oil, olive oil, and then some people like avocado oil. I think those are
Okay.
like the
Yeah.
fatty pure ones.
Got it.
I think vegetable oil is like a conglomeration of like I don't even, and now I'm
Yeah.
like just picturing them squeezing like corn and carrots. I
Yeah.
really don't know what it's made of, but I think it's pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. It seems bad. Like, it seems like, oh, this is like kind of like it's probably very cheap, as I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Easy
It feels
use,
very
whatever.
90s too. It feels like margarine, vegetable oil. These are things we do not use anymore. Like,
Yeah, and it's like, if you shouldn't put it in your tum-tum, you shouldn't
don't
put it
put
in
it in your
your
bum bum.
bum.
That's honestly the best rule. If you wouldn't put it in your tum tum, don't put it
Don't
up your
put it in.
bum bum. I
I
stand
think
by it.
I think we just developed a pillow we need to cross stitch.
I think so too. I've been thinking about getting into cross stitching. It seems
Me
very
too.
calming, and I used to like it.
Yeah, I need something to do with my hands these days. Like, but it's true. My hands are so handsy.
I do want something to do when I'm like, because I watch too much TV as it is. So I'm like, might as well have a craft, something that you can
Yes.
like look up and down from.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get into drawing again for some reason. So maybe I'll do cross stitch.
Yeah. Like, there's something like there's like a TV watching activity that I need that like will let me pay attention to what's going on TV, but let me do something with my hands, and I'll still be able to. Do you know what I mean? Like, my attention
Yes.
won't like kind of like falter, and I won't have to be like, well, what happened? Da, 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 rewind.
Yes. I was watercoloring for a while and that was good because like I would
Mm-hmm.
already have drawn the thing. So then like listening and just picking colors was very calming.
Oh, that's
And I feel like
nice.
cross stitching would be a similar thing.
Yeah. Listen, let's take up cross stitching.
And now we know what we're going to cross stitch.
I know we have a great phrase.
It's a great phrase. Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
This is just the funniest podcast. When I say awakening though, that
Mm-hmm.
first scene to jump backwards
Yeah, of course.
now that we've talked about what I consider to be somewhat
Mm-hmm.
traumatic scene
Sure.
in
Yeah.
the kitchen.
Yeah.
That first scene when they basically have this whole like first of all it's weird to begin with. He cooks her dinner and he cooks her like a pot pie and pastry that he tried to make himself, but it's like too
Yes.
thick and it burns.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something very sweet about the attempt, but also I'm like, this is what you cook someone you're about to have sex with? Like the heaviest curry
I know.
baked good you could imagine.
It's like gravy, butter.
That's-
Like,
I would only eat that on vacation if I had nothing to get up for the next morning.
I know. I'd be like, what? You should have told me to bring like Lactaid with me or something.
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh my God. I would have been like, well, okay, first of all, I'm gluten free. Second of all, I'm gonna be very bloated. Like
Yeah.
this is where you need to cook like a nice like flank of salmon. I don't think
Yes.
flank is something a fish has, but you get where I'm going.
I think so.
Sorry, I'm so turned on. I wanted to say the word flank. It's
How could you not?
one of my hot words.
Yeah.
Just a salmon fillet.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not asparagus. Something, you know,
Asparagus,
zucchini maybe.
yes. Maybe I'll even do a spinach, not like, a sauteed spinach. I'll take that.
Too
Not a
acidic for me,
broccoli.
but I hear you.
Okay.
But
yeah.
yes, tastes good. Something light but filling.
Yes.
That
yeah.
thick burnt pastry. I was just like, oh my God, she's gonna have sex after this. But
I know.
and they didn't. They didn't have penetrative sex, but they
still
with
like
his
were
fingers.
intimate.
Yes, yeah.
They were intimate, and during a time where if I were in the situation, I'd be farting up a storm, and that doesn't feel very sexy to me. And I think about that, and I completely like. I think about like all of these like realistic things, like even like I was just like thinking the other day, like a few years ago when we saw her going through a drought, but like when we were having like this serious drought and we were getting all of these like things of like, don't take a shower longer than 5 minutes or whatever. And I'm reading a book with shower sex in it. And I hated that scene because just of my context of like leaving the shower running these days, It's like you read these scenes like bringing in your own like
for sure.
experiences.
Oh yeah, there's no way not to. I was also like, there were a couple times where like they went to the skating rink and then they didn't end up eating. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, you need to eat a meal. I get so
Yeah.
upset when pizza is promised and then pizza is not delivered. And I was like, I can't really focus on the sex that you're having because you told her you were going to get her pizza. Give
Yes.
her pizza.
Thank you. Is she getting lightheaded? Like, that's another thing I worry about is like,
Yes.
do we have, like, it's a, like, sex, from what I hear, is very taxing. And sometimes you need a snack. And it's
And
like,
they
you
were
don't want
doing it.
getting lightheaded.
They were doing it back to back. That was,
Well,
I mean, I will say, I
yeah,
was like, come on, isn't once a night enough?
I know.
You really want to
I,
go again right away?
I was like, I love all the 36-year-old men I've met when they were 36. None of them would be able to last as long at 36 years old as this guy. He had a teenage libido. Like, it was like he was not falling asleep right away. And I feel like for 36 years old, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm, we'll eat my words. If there's like a 36-year-old who's like, yeah, I can go all night long.
I
Don't
just don't even understand it
believe it.
biologically.
Me neither. Yeah. It's like
Like how, because there was, what's the most times they did it in one night? 3 or 4?
3 or 4, but then like you would cut to like the next paragraph and then it'd be like, and after a few more rounds, and it's like, okay, well,
Right,
that clearly
right.
they were going 17.
And with
Like,
like very little time in between, I was like, I just don't understand. Yeah, I
yeah.
guess I don't. To me, an orgasm is like eating a meal. I only
Mm-hmm.
need one per
Yes.
meal. I don't eat a
Mm.
full meal. Actually, this is a bad analogy. I often do that. Let's say
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
I'm done. All I can say is I'm done.
It's like exercising in a way.
Yes,
Like,
you don't need to do 2 workouts back to back.
yeah, it's like, what are you doing? You like achieved you had like a really good workout. You don't need to, you're not,
It's the wear and tear on your muscles not going to be good.
yes, you need, it's like self-care. It is
Yeah,
self-care.
recover. You need to recover.
Yes. And
Self-care is
yeah.
not having sex twice. Come on, guys.
I mean, and that's another thing we should cross stitch on a pillow. Self-care is not having sex twice. I just like physically just didn't believe the amount of energy that these people had.
Oh my God.
Like, it just like that to me, is the fantasy of these books, is just like, even if it's like two humans, I'm like, this isn't real, when they're like,
I know it does take me out. Like I want
yeah.
there to I think that's why I sort of like when there are realistic details in there. Like there was even one night where she got back and she was like so tired from work and he was
Mm-hmm.
like, we're just gonna go to sleep tonight. And I was like,
Yes.
yes.
I loved that.
I loved it too. Because not only did
Yeah.
it show he cared for her, but I was like, okay, I'm living in this world with them. I honestly believe this. When you're
Mm-hmm.
having multiple sex a day, every day, I'm like, your vagina would be broken. You would have gotten a UTI. You'd be
Yeah.
getting a yeast infection because you have not experienced this man's microbiome before. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Like you like literally like it would be like every other day. Like, I don't know. Like, that's why it's like, oh, when like life gets in the way. Like, I love those scenes because
yes.
it is very real.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
what made the book good to me was you really do feel like you're living in it.
Yeah. 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 What did you think of like the arrangement of her like full on moving in with him? Like, she, for this rest of the month, I think, because like he's controlling, which she allows him to be, which is
Yeah.
what she
And he's also
wants.
not that controlling. They keep saying it,
I
but he's
know.
not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, I guess controlling is relative. I don't know. I find it controlling when someone's like, you're going to live with me. And I'm like, what? Okay. That's a little controlling.
But didn't he? Yeah, maybe he said it, but I feel like she agreed to
She
it.
agrees to
Like,
it.
and she pretty
Yeah.
quickly was like, "Oh, have a driver and live with my millionaire fake boyfriend." Sure. And she kept
Mm-hmm.
saying fake boyfriend, and he did not. Each time
Nope.
he was like a stab to the
Mm-mm.
heart, which was very cute.
Very cute.
I mean, to me, it made sense because they were both like really busy people. Like
It
she
made, yes.
had
Mm-hmm.
school and then all her work with at the nunnery and at the shelter. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was tired for her already. I don't know how she was managing to want to have sex in that life.
I know. I mean,
And
she
then
had,
he
yeah.
was, God knows what his job was, going into this office apparently and making deals.
Making deals. Yeah. I didn't really like
The evil boss
know.
was a lot.
Yeah.
Too
The
evil.
evil boss. It was like, oh, a little arch, but
Yeah.
it, like, I didn't mind it. You
Yeah,
know
it
what
was a
I mean?
throwaway character.
Yeah, yeah. it just like kind of showed like, oh, this was the world he once like he once looked up to this type of person, someone who would like cheat on his wife or cheat on, whatever, and just like
Yeah.
all they cared about is money and like not care about their family and things like that. And like
And who
that, I
literally
mean,
was like, you need to come into the office while your mom is dying.
yeah,
Like in those words.
I would. It was very that to me was like almost funny because it's like there is no one that well, I could be wrong, I don't know, but like it was so that moment was felt very like, would a villain really do that? Like, would a person who is that terrible really do that? I have no
There's
idea.
probably, I bet you there's Hollywood execs who have
Mm,
done quite similar.
yeah, yeah,
I just because I mean, especially because I think there's that the need of the films being all important,
of course,
and it
yeah,
seems like the attitude was the same here, where it was like,
mm-hmm,
this transaction can't wait for your mom to die. Isn't she? Oh, he even said like, I
yeah.
thought it would take like a week, but geez,
It was
she
like,
was
are
still going
you?
after a month.
Yeah, I'm like, are you? This guy isn't like how did like it has he ever been like it's like he's like what like a 40 like probably like 70 years old, he's like on his way, this boss is on his way out to retire, and he's like gone how many years in his life saying things like that and never once gotten punched in the face, like that's
I
insane to
know.
me. What a
Do you
lucky
think he was
man.
70? I feel like those
I don't
finance
know.
guys retire early because they
Oh
can.
yeah,
They're like
maybe.
billionaires. I bet he was like 50.
I pictured old because I for some reason was like, is it earning money an addiction? Like, does it become an
Yeah,
addiction?
you're
And I was
probably
like
right.
curious about that. Like, is that what keeps him young? But it could be. He could be like
No, you're
50s.
right. I'm like, and I'm thinking of like in my mind, if I had
Mm-hmm.
even $3 million, I'd be like, well, I'm done.
I
Great.
know. Be like, I made it. I'm
Okay.
done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think is very funny now that I'm like, $3 million is probably not a lot of money.
No, you couldn't buy a
It's
house
just that
here.
my bar
Like,
is so low. Yeah, I couldn't.
if I like saw something that was like $20,000, I'd be like, great. And then I'd be like, I barely. Oh yeah.
Do you have I have this happen so often where someone will be like, they'll like mention an amount in like that
Mm-hmm.
voice of like, can you believe? And I have to
Mm-hmm.
make this face of like, oh my God, that's crazy. And I'm like, I don't know if they're saying that's a lot or if it's like not a lot. I don't
I
know
know.
what we're talking about.
I have that routinely every day of like someone's like, it was only $650,000, and I'm like, what's a mortgage? Like,
Right.
like is that
Right.
like rent?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God.
yeah, there's just like not having context anymore of like when like we all like I don't know, there's people, we interact with people with all different walks of life, and like we're all just like talking as if we all understand everyone's walks of life, and then you realize like, oh wait, I really don't. I don't
I
know.
know. It's like the little bubbles that we're all in on social media. And I think people will forget that too. And so they'll tweet something like, everyone needs to stop saying, and I'm like, what? What? Everyone's saying
Yeah.
what? I mean, and I'm like, oh, right. We're all seeing a fully different version of this world and then reacting to
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, I have to remind myself of that because, like, I think like I find it insane. I'm like, who's voting for Trump? Like, who's voting for Trump? Like, obviously people are, and it's like I'm in my own world, just with like what I'm consuming and the people that I, am around and the city that I'm in and all this stuff. Like, just all of this stuff feels like so fictional to me, and like having to remind myself, oh wait, it's not
Wait, so
fictional.
you're not voting for Trump?
Well, I'm on the fence.
Well, listen, let me
Make
bring you over
America
to
great
my
again.
side.
I mean, I want to make America great again, but I was a real Nikki Haley head. I don't know.
Nikki Haley yet.
Yeah.
What did you think of the dirty talk he would do? Like when I feel like he
Hmm.
was always like, can you come for me? Can you do it?
Yeah.
Can you get there for me?
I loved it when he would do it in like a place that was so not appropriate. Like,
Yes.
while sometimes like I get a little, and this is just me, this is just my kind of whatever, when someone is like cheering for you as you come. Like, it's like as you're like running a marathon and there's like people like your family's there like cheering you on as you're like getting towards the finish line, and
And
you're like,
suddenly it's slow motion and
yeah, and it's like I don't need that. Like I'm feeling real some that's just me. I'm like, oh, is it a little placating? Is it a little condescending? But I know in the context of this, it was hot.
Yeah, because
But
he was kind of like teacher slash daddy,
yeah,
and she was
yeah.
the A student.
It was a good game, like
It
a
was a good
good,
game.
yeah.
Yeah. She definitely didn't reciprocate. Like she didn't ever initiate that I'm remembering dirty
No,
talk with him. Yeah.
yeah. But she was like, I think she was like initiating by just like being there, by the agreement, by moving in with him, by like being like, by say, because she was saying again and again, I trust you. She was
Yeah.
constantly telling him, I trust you. And I think that's like, for me, was like, okay, if she says that, then that maybe means like, talk dirty to me, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. She definitely Oh yeah. I mean, she was definitely fully into it
Oh yeah,
and
she loved
and
it.
she would talk back. It just means she was never like, is your cock hungry?
Yes.
Does it
Oh
need to
yeah,
drink me up?
I know. And he
But
was
he would
like,
always be
yeah.
like, do you need to feel better? Oh, is your
Mm-hmm.
little clit
Pussy
aching?
thirsty. Yeah. Is your little cute little pussy aching and thirsty? Like, it's like talking, when like you're about to feed a dog or a cat and you're like,
Oh my god, it
are
totally
you
was.
hungry?
Yes. Oh, you're so cute. Yes, you are. You're so wet.
Oh, the papa. Who needs tickles? Who needs tickles?
Oh boy. Um,
um, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say the last sex scene.
Yes, right before she takes her vows.
Yes. So she's at the
Oh,
church. She's in a wedding dress, which by the way, I
mm-hmm.
did not know that nuns wore actual wedding dresses to get married to Christ. This feels so fucking weird.
I did not either.
And it seems
And
like it's right
yes.
because she like did her research. I
Oh,
read the
yeah.
little post log or whatever they call it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, so ew, what?
So, like, are nuns, like, going to David's bridal as well as
Yeah.
brides?
And are they, or do they just have like a few around that they're like, they say, like, do they reuse these wedding
Right.
dresses at that, like, oh, here, open the closet, see if
Mm-hmm.
one fits you?
Yeah, like the old costume closet in the high school drama
It
department.
does
Like,
feel like that. Like, was it
yes.
stained? Like, how gross was this thing?
He mentions that she looks beautiful in it, which okay, he loves her. She'll look beautiful in a paper
Sure,
bag.
sure.
But then like he describes like which made me laugh. Like he described the top of it resembling Belle's dress in Beauty and the Beast, like
Yes,
the
and I really
sleeves.
had to take a second. I was like, wow, okay.
I was like, what a reference that this man would make.
That you would make, yeah.
Like, how do you remember? Like, I
I
remember
didn't
the
even think of
sleeves.
that part. I just was like
Yeah.
trying to remember what the dress looked like.
Yeah. It was so weird. Like, and it was like I completely pictured it and I'm just like that was like those moments where I'm like, yep, a woman wrote this. A woman
Yes.
of
Yeah.
like a millennial woman definitely wrote this. Um but like yeah, so he like his mom has passed away and she's there for him, during his mom's
Oh
final
yeah, she
moments,
shows up at the hospital and the
Yeah.
mom even whispers something to her, which
Mhm.
we don't know what it is at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do have like their kind of breakup after the I love you anal sex scene
Yeah,
and
she's so mad at him.
livid. And that was like that was heartbreaking. Like,
Yeah, and she's like, "Don't be at your
yeah.
apartment. I'm gonna go get my stuff." Like
Yeah.
very cold.
Yes. Which like I kind of understand where she's coming. Like I feel like, she has this plan and it just gets like rocked. And it's like I would probably, even if I didn't mean it, react in the same way just because like,
Yeah.
when you like are like this is my life plan and you can't da 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 and it's like all of a sudden like bam.
And I think she rightly was like suspicious of him being somebody who could sort of swoop in and just have his way because
Mhm.
he's gotten to have his way with like every other woman he's been with.
Yeah.
And I think she really had like a passion, a plan. This is what I want to do. And the idea
Mhm.
that he was like willing to derail it for his own selfish feelings
Yeah. Mhm.
felt, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, hey, you kind of like, even though what you promised is heartbreaking, the fact that you broke your heartbreaking promise is like twice as heartbreaking, like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So, but regardless, like he needs her when he's losing his mom and she is there. And then like later on she's going to take her vows and he like runs to like kind of wish her luck, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or
He
whatever.
goes to tell her that like I want to make sure that you go into this like with full freedom and joy. Like I was
Yes.
wrong. He's gonna be like, I
Mm-hmm.
was wrong. And then when he
Yeah.
does tell her that, he's like, and you didn't think that like coming here to say that to me right before I take my vows is maybe fucking with me? And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, I do see that now.
Yeah. He's like, true. Yep.
Yeah. So
This
there she is, and they're
poor
in there like a
rich
little.
man.
I know. They're like in some like I keep picturing this church, by the way, as like very dirty.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know why, but like I think because
Mm-hmm.
they kept describing all like it was like falling apart, and you know that's
Mm-hmm.
part of the whole plot at the beginning is like he's gonna buy them a better or find them a better
Space.
space.
Yeah.
But I was just like I'm picturing them in this like very like
Mm-hmm.
dingy room, and she's in like a used stained wedding dress. The whole thing I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know
Just
about this.
there was a weird smell. Like I definitely
A
pictured a
lot of
weird
weird smells. Not
smell.
as
I
bad
mean,
as the vegetable oil, but like
yeah.
church weird. Yeah.
Just like dusty. Yeah, like religious places I'm assuming have a smell. That
They
a
do have a
distinct
smell. I feel
smell,
like, and I feel like I very much notice it when I've gone to like funerals or weddings, which is the only time I'm ever in a church.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
there is sort of a thrift store slash school smell.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thrift store, school slash almost library sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
of just like kind of old paper,
Yes.
you
And like
know.
old wood and old carpet.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But they fuck in there. They full
They fuck with her
on.
in the wedding dress.
Why
And I'm just
not?
thinking like too, like so you're gonna go through with this in front of all your sisters knowing that like you just
2 seconds ago.
had sex like it, but they do, I will say this is another part I like, so they
Mm-hmm.
really do a good job of explaining that like sex does not make you impure, like they don't even
Yes.
view it that way. In fact, her
Mm-hmm.
mother nun or whatever she's called was like, go out, live your life, have sex so that
Mm-hmm.
you're sure about this decision. And
Yeah.
I really loved that conversation that first of all she has with him when she's
Mm-hmm.
explaining to him that like having sex does not make you tainted or not good enough for the church or anything like that. It's literally
Mm-hmm.
you're just making a commitment
Mm-hmm.
to do a different thing.
Yeah.
And then I love that he has that one scene with the is it the Reverend Mother or over
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like the
the,
prioress.
yes, I
Prioress?
don't know what any
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
the titles are.
Mm-hmm.
And she's very much like you need to tell her you love her.
Yeah.
And she's also the one who refers to God as a woman. And
As a
I was like,
she.
man,
Yeah.
these nuns,
These nuns are like sex positive.
they
Like,
are.
because like they don't, like, they're like, because probably because they're so empathetic and they don't want like someone in this, priory or nun mission or convent or whatever, like, who are like, yearning, missing out. I would
Yeah.
feel terrible if I were Mother Superior and there was like a sweet young nun beneath me who, like, I know is yearning for something more. And I'm like, you took your vows. Sorry. I'd be like, no, like, you have to be true to your heart. I love you.
By the way,
Yeah.
have you seen the latest season of Queer Eye?
Yes. Yes. With
Because
the, mm-hmm.
that is not a nun I like. I could not get behind this nun.
I,
I'm going to take my sleep meds,
yes.
by the way.
Oh my God. I love this. I love this. Take your sleep meds. By the end of this, like, I just want to be like, everyone, Erin has fallen asleep. She's just like, toast
I
off.
mean, I know I should have asked how long we're going actually before I took it.
Oh no, I should have actually been keeping time because I am very enthralled in this conversation. Also, I need to take my sleep meds too, but that's neither here nor there. What was I gonna say?
Listen, there was a day in my younger years when I could just hit the pillow. No, no longer.
I don't. Again, I just don't understand it anymore. Like, I don't understand how, like, she can just like sleep, like, stay the night at someone's house and not be like, well, I need my nighttime meds and my morning meds and my toothbrush.
And my
Like, I
face
just
wash and my, I mean, she did request a silk pillow, which I
loved it.
liked. Yes, and she had to
Loved it.
explain to him about like when you have,
Silk.
yeah, because she's, and we, oh yeah, she's black, and so she's explaining to him that like
Mm-hmm.
with her hair it would dry it out. And he
Mm-hmm.
goes, he's like horrified, which I thought was very funny. He's like, is it drying out my hair?
Yeah.
And
That's
she's
the
like,
first thing he thinks of.
she's like, no, Sean, we have different hair.
I loved it. And then next day, full on silk sheets for the
Oh
rest
yeah,
of
he got the whole set. And I was like, oh, I wonder if she wanted that. Because in my
Mhm.
mind, I'm like, a silk pillowcase, I get. Silk
Yeah.
sheets don't sound cozy to me. I feel like you'd be
Yeah.
slipping and sliding and like every little bit of moisture would show.
Yeah, I don't know because I do enjoy I do have a silk pillowcase because I have curly hair, but like full on like, do you get hot or cold in silk? Like, is it like is it like will
Yeah, is
I
it
wake up in a
breathable? I'm not
exactly
sure.
breathable? That's the word. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
It just the shininess of it doesn't sound. I don't even like those sateen sheets.
Yeah, yeah.
They're too shiny for me. I use I just lost it.
Um,
Becky, my brain.
Target. I
Did you say
I
Target?
yeah. Target sheets. That's where I use mine.
These are no, these are unfortunately they're so expensive, but I love them. Bed threads.
Mhm.
They're
Ooh,
they're oh my
cotton,
God.
Egyptian cotton.
No.
Um, is it like bamboo?
No, my goddamn brain. I gotta go.
Eucalyptus. Okay, we were gonna Google this.
When you know what the word is, you'll be like, you couldn't think of that word. Hold on.
Cloth. They are.
Essentially, it is essentially the word for cloth.
Oh, okay. Fabric. I'm loving this game. They are woven. They are
Oh, linen.
linen. Oh yeah.
Linen. Okay.
Okay. First of all, I forget the word linen all the time, so you are in very good company.
I don't know why that like yeah, it's so weird to me how certain
Hmm.
words just fully escape me. But I do. I love
Yeah.
these sheets.
Hmm.
Tell your
Ooh.
tell your listeners if you want good linen sheets, they really
Hmm.
do get softer every time. They don't lie. It's pretty
Ooh.
amazing.
I
They're
mean,
like better 4 years later than they were when I got them.
ooh, that's good to know because I just feel like I kind of just get sheets and wait for them to like kind of disintegrate and then get new sheets again. Like
Yeah. No,
I
these
should
are
splurge.
I splurged. This is the only time I've ever splurged on sheets, and I just got the one set and I
Mm-hmm.
love them. And
Oh,
bed threads has a
good.
thing where you can mix and match everything. So you can do
Mm-hmm.
like the bottom sheet, the top sheet, the like you choose all your own colors. So
Mm-hmm.
I did like a
Ooh.
mix. I did a mix of like terracotta and peach and dark brown.
Oh my God, you
It's
are
very cozy.
living the dream, living my dream. I would love to, like, I'm just like, I want to choose like my own, like, choose sheets that I just make me happy. Like, I look at my bed and I'm like, this makes me happy,
Yes. And then
Yeah,
we should be happy in our beds.
we should be. Like Zenobia
Even if
and
our regrets are
Sean.
going to keep us up, we might as well be in nice sheets.
Thank you. Another pillow.
Okay, wait, but I feel like I derailed the whole conversation just to say the word linen.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's worth
Silk
it.
sheets.
Silk sheets. Well, I think something that we did fail to mention is that she is black, and that does come up in a very poignant part of the book where like Sean has to check his privilege and like realize like, oh, like I have no idea what she's going through, which I thought was very poignant.
I liked it, although because he's 36, for him to
Mm-hmm.
say, and his best friend is apparently black. They grew up
True.
side by side with this other black family. For him to go, oh, it never occurred to me your experience might be different than mine. And we're in the year that we're
Yeah.
in. I was
Mm.
like,
It was a
this
little
is the
dumb.
man you're entrusting your virginal little hymen to? Like, I feel like we need to make him a little like let him make
Hmm.
a mistake, but not be quite so new to oh,
Yeah.
you might have had a different experience in America.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he does like do something that's like he tries to stand up for her and kind of takes her agency away in the moment. Like that's
Yeah.
not right. Da 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 da. And it's like whoa, like I don't know, like it was very
And then he gets
like
mad at
child.
her
Yeah, it was like
because he's like, why
childlike.
aren't you
Yeah.
madder? Why aren't you more angry? And she has to be like, because I've dealt with this my whole 21 years on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's again makes her sound so much smarter than like
And maybe
than
that
your
is
average
part
21
of
year
it.
old.
Like she's
Yeah.
definitely probably had to consider far more things than he ever had to.
Oh, sure. Especially like this is the environment that like she grew up in too. I mean, I know that she like leaves a voicemail about her experience and like what her family expects of her, what the
Oh yeah,
world
she
expects
was
of
really
her.
into voice memos.
I know she
That
loved
was a
those voice
that
memos.
was a
Again,
funny tidbit because I'm like, I'm a
yeah.
big voice memo
You
person.
are.
I mean, you and I have not dipped into this, but maybe we
Hmm.
will. I don't know.
Mhm.
But when I find people who like a voice memo and who like to send them back, I'm like, this is very fun. It's like having a personal
Mhm.
podcast. Like I
Oh
just
my
let like
God,
someone will like
yeah.
leave me one and I'm like, ooh, 5 minutes. I'm gonna go on a walk.
This is so funny because I think the other day I was again, sorry, side note, was rehearsing my show with Courtney, and like we were texting about like the book, and I accidentally hit voice memo, and then I started
About
rehearsing.
this book?
Yeah, about this
Oh, did
book.
she
I
read it
think
too?
no, but you had texted me about like, oh,
Oh,
can't
yes,
wait to
yes.
discuss it, blah blah blah, and I like texted you back, but I think I accidentally opened voice memos, and I did the whole show, and the whole time it was a recording of voice memo like about to send to you.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Because I've also done the thing where I guess I set my phone down and somehow hit like not record, but when you dictate, and
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
look down
Yeah.
and be like, what on earth? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
700 paragraphs of me just having a very mundane conversation.
Yes. And it's like,
Yeah.
I did not mean to do this. Second side note, are you on Voxer? The app, it's
No,
like a walkie-talkie app. You can like leave voice memos for
no, I
people.
am not on
It's
that. Wait, but
fun.
how is it different than just doing them on like
Um, it's not. It's not different. It's just another app to put on your phone.
great. I mean, you know me, I'm always looking for another app.
Yeah.
I get so many that I'll search for like, is there an app for whatever this latest thing is that my
Hmm.
brain has thought of? I'll find it. I'll get excited. I'll go to download it and my phone has it. And I'm like, oh, so we've already been down this and I just never
Hmm.
used it.
Oh
Cool.
yeah. It's like I wish there was like an app to like be like you thought this thought before. You know, like I think the same thoughts again and
Personal
again.
Google. I have said this so many
Yes.
times. I'm like, I want Google for my brain. And people are always
Hmm.
like, that's photographs. And it's like, no, I want to be able to Google, where is the jacket that I had in my 20s that I loved? What
Hmm.
happened to it?
Yeah.
Did I throw out this paperwork? Do I need to call the person for it? That I want
Hmm.
this. This is the
Yeah.
Google I want.
I want like okay, remember that person I met in third grade and we ran into each other at a Jersey Mike's? What's her name? I forget
Yes.
her name. And
Yes.
if I don't know remember her name, I'm gonna not sleep ever again. Even though
Yes.
I'm never gonna see this person ever again. I need to
Yeah,
know her name.
I'm with you. I live near Jersey Mike's and it makes me so sad that I can't eat the food there. I want a
Really?
meatball sub so bad.
I mean, okay. I guess as someone who does eat there, I'm like, it's not the best, you know. Like it's
Right. I think
and I'm from Jersey, so I have my obviously my own
yes. I mean,
issues.
listen, I crave Subway meatball sandwiches too, and those are
Hmm.
definitely not good. I just crave
Right.
them.
I get it. I absolutely get it. Oh, Aaron.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to give you like a bunch of meatball subs. I wish I could just like take you in my arms.
Take me in your arms and feed me a big fat
Just a
meatball
meatball
sub,
sub on
and
just
I'll
a
go.
soggy bread. Yeah. You'd be like, this is love.
Oh boy.
Okay. Okay. So this is all to say the book ends on a happy note.
It does end on a
Yeah.
happy. I was a little worried. I was like,
Me
"Oh,
too.
is she going to set us up for a sequel and I'm not going to get the happy ending?" I was very
Yeah.
happy.
Oh God, I knew that it was gonna end happy. But I was in the like the phase of like these characters are so like she's so convinced of her decisions like 99% towards the end of the book. Like you don't see for a second that she's really kind of doubting, and it's like how is this gonna work? How is this gonna work?
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
it
when she
works
fucked him
so
right before,
well.
I started to go, seems like it's going to go okay,
Fair.
cuz come
But
on.
yeah, I think what it is, honestly, I think season 2 of Fleabag just like in the back of my brain is
Oh,
like, you know what I mean?
which,
Like
by the way, I do think that season set me up to already be okay with adding some religious in. Because
okay, yeah.
when
Mhm.
that season of Fleabag started, I was like,
Mhm.
a priest? Really?
Yeah.
And then 20 seconds later, I was so fucking on board.
Yeah.
Sorry for another
We need it.
segue. Okay.
We need it.
Have
Mhm.
you seen the new
Mhm.
movie, All of Us Strangers?
No, but I want to.
Becky,
Okay.
it's Hot Priest and it's so sad and it's so hot and like you're gonna die.
I love
You're
him.
gonna die. I was texting Mark Rennie as I was
Mhm.
watching it. And so the first
Mhm.
thing I text is, okay, this movie just got very hot. And then like 20
Nice.
minutes later I go, and then very sad.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, my wheelhouse.
Oh,
Hot and sad. That's why I like this book. Dying
yes.
mom, hot sex. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
my brain can't keep up.
Oh my God. We need to read more hot sad. We should start a hot sad book club or something and just
Hot
read hot
sad, I
sad
think, is
books.
really where it's at for me. It's like
Yeah.
if there's an attachment style that is hot sad,
Mm-hmm.
that's what mine is.
Do you like this? So this book I think it was hot sad. And even without the mom plot line, like I just think their love for each other and the fact that like they both like just knew they couldn't be together, but they had to be together, and just that longing, it was very sad. Like it was sad when he was walking out of the church in like,
And yeah, then he
yeah.
like ran.
Yeah. He
He's
was
like, I
like,
gotta get out of here.
yeah. And I'm
And
like,
they both like
yeah.
pushed each other. I liked that they did both challenge each other, because the idea was like, she was like, you have to challenge me about my beliefs, but she clearly didn't really want that. Instead of,
Yes.
she was like, officially, I should want this because I know I should be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the real challenge came where he fell in love with her, she was like, no, you're only supposed to challenge me like intellectually.
Right.
And then
Exactly. Yeah.
and then the whole deal was not that he would be challenged at all, because he's just, he's just a dog. He just wants sex. And then like
Right.
he's like falling in love with her, and it's the first time
Yeah.
he starts praying again.
I know.
Which, by the way, I was like, that's interesting. He like looks up the ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I guess he doesn't say it out loud, but he says like, to God, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
I think it's about his mom
Mm-hmm.
or his sister. Like
Yeah. Or just like life, like everything.
yeah. He's like very
Mm-hmm.
upset. And when he tells her that the next morning, which again, I was like, oh my God, how sweet that he told her that. Like they're having
Mm-hmm.
very sweet, intimate conversations.
Yes.
And she was like, oh my God, Sean, you prayed. And
Yeah.
all I could think was like, oh, I guess I pray a lot.
Yeah. It's like, are you kidding me? Like like walked into a wall. I guess that was prayer.
Yeah.
When I like cursed. Yeah.
I lie in bed talking about what I hate all the time. I'm just talking to myself.
Praying. You're praying.
But God is in all of us, right? So there you go.
I guess so. Yeah. But so
Yes.
he's like, and towards the end, he's like running away. I'm literally in tears. Like I don't.
Were you crying?
I felt my eyes well up a little bit.
Okay, because I cried at certain points, but not that point. But I did cry.
I mean, I cried when the mom passed away because not that I'm like, not that I have emotions, but.
Oh, are you a Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
well, I know how that ends.
I feel like I don't know, maybe because it's like, oh, like I'm hormonal or something, but like I don't know. I just like when I was reading it last night and finishing it, like I was just like in a vulnerable moment, so I was just like welling up. Everything was making me well up. Like even the epilogue and like the bonus chapter made me well. Like I don't know why. I was just like,
oh, that's funny. The bonus chapter, I was like, it was too far for me. Like I was like, I wanted them. I would have preferred to be at their marriage so we could see all the people who were there.
Yes.
And then maybe see him like get her pregnant. Like have that be a hot scene.
Yeah.
Seed exploded in her virginal abdomen or whatever. See, this is why I can't write these. Virginal abdomen. What is that? Like a frog? Disgusting.
Everything about
no
it. Like
one
her
says
virginal,
like
everything about your virginal teeth, your virginal nostrils.
Yeah, I just add virginal before everything.
And it's like, I love the description you use in your book. It's so great. Just virginal everything.
Virginal everything is the name of my store in my quaint small town life that I now lead. I did cry though now I wish I should have marked where it was, but I think I remember being surprised by it because I was like, why am I crying here? And I think he was like so mad at some point, or he was like, or so upset. Maybe it was when he went also to go talk to his brother upstate. And I don't know, he was so vulnerable and like frustrated and tired that like I started crying for him, and I was like, wow, this book really took me on a ride.
It takes you on a ride. Yeah.
Like you really feel for him, which I think that's the only reason that I was on board.
100%. Yeah. Like I feel like that's just because of like, his inner thoughts, and like and it's so messy, and like, and he's like saying everything, like he's saying I fucking hate God, and you're like, I felt that before, or like this sucks when this thing happens, and it's like, yeah, it really does suck, and you're like, he's not like, I don't know, He's so self-loathing and in such a relatable way.
Yeah.
And like it made me love him. You know what I mean? And just root for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. And even some of his choices, like, okay, the bakery treat at the beginning or the dinner
Hmm.
was weird but cute. The
Yes.
skating rink date I thought was very cute.
So cute. I did think, oh my god, because he fingers her while they're on roller skates in the back room. I was like, what if they fall just because I can't roller skate? But other than that, cute.
Oh, see, okay, here's where I was. I was like, you didn't wash your hands first and you're in a skating rink. Like, you know that his hand touched
Oh.
that, like, on the
Oh
the
yeah.
side of the rink where you have to like touch the thing to like get out.
Oh
Do you know
totally.
how
And
many
he's like lacing.
kids,
Yeah.
how many little nose pickers hands were on that and on the I did think it was kind of funny that he bought them. Okay. Oh, okay. We have to bring this up. He
Okay.
buys her new skates. Okay, fine. A
Yes.
little over the top because they definitely
Mm-hmm.
could have rented them. He bought himself rollerblades.
That
Never has
was
there
so
been a
funny.
less sexy detail in something that's supposed to be I was like, rollerblades at a roller rink.
Yeah.
I would have been out. I would have been like, I'm so sorry, this deal is now off.
Yeah.
I will find a different bell brother.
Yeah.
Rollerblades. I'm sorry, but I feel like maybe it's from the time I grew up, but that is like the guys
What
who rollerbladed were such losers.
was
Like
there
Brian
a
Austin
time?
Green.
Yeah. Was there a time when, because I'm just like thinking, was there a time when it was like, if a boy roller skated, that was bad? Like, was
I
there a
think
time where it
so,
was
but I
like,
think that's why
yeah,
it's
it
even
was
like
stupid?
the
Yeah.
fact that he's like skates are for girls, but rollerblades are for boys. I was like,
Right.
ugh.
Yeah. And it's like again, still has these like old, like his brother points out, it's like you still have your like old feelings about sex and that it's not, and it's like you still have feelings about rollerblades as well, and you really need to check like you have a
Yeah.
lot of thinking to do, Sean
Check your
Bell.
misogynist blades at the door, my friend, and rent
Thank
a pair of
you.
skates.
Yeah, and rent it. That was another thing is that like there were multiple times where he was like, "Oh, I had my assistant buy this or I had my assistant buy that." And it was like we don't see the assistant once and like all I care about is this assistant. Like it's like
Yeah, and the assistant was a guy, right? Was there like
yeah.
one mention of that? I was like, oh, I want to meet this assistant dude. Maybe he gets
I
his own novel
yes.
at some point.
I need him to have his own novel. Like that's like I would love to read a romance novel of like the assistant of like a billionaire this getting all of this crazy personal stuff and that's just their job, but then they have their own like romance story that's not with their boss billionaire. Like it's just like a different type of
Just a
romance.
totally side romance. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, what did you do today?" And it's like, "Oh, yeah, no, I just had to go to Tiffany's to buy my boss his engagement ring for this, young fiance he's going to propose to. Anyway, how was your day?" And then like that's the story.
Or they're like fucking on the satin sheets that he went to pick up. By the way, 4 or 5
Yes.
sets.
Mm,
Extravagant amount of sheets for anybody. Why
yes.
do you need that many pairs of sheets? Like,
Yeah. If you needed that many pairs of sheets, it's weird that you would finger someone in a roller rink without needing to wash your hands.
yeah.
Like scientifically.
Yeah, you gotta wash the rink off your hands before you put your fingers in her puss. Come
I
on.
know.
I
Again,
don't want rink
pH.
puss.
Ugh.
I
Yeah.
mean, if we're gonna talk about the smell of a church, let's talk about the smell of a skating rink. I mean, I
And
love it, but I don't want it in me.
no, it's like vomit, bubblegum, and pizza. Like it's like, and I don't need that. I don't need that smell
That
to
is
leave.
exactly what it is. Yeah. And whatever weird oil they use on the floor.
Yeah. Again, yeah. And it's
I'm
like,
surprised they didn't use that as a lube. Those dirty bastards.
honestly, I feel like it would probably be a better lube than vegetable oil.
Yeah,
Just
you
because
know
I'm
what?
assuming it gets sticky. Vegetable oil feels like it would get sticky. I don't like sticky.
No. I don't like sticky. I don't like rancid.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Wash
Mm-mm.
your hands.
Wash your goddamn hands.
Wash your hands. Um,
Cleanliness is close to godliness.
if there's anything we learned from this
I don't
book,
think I even said that correctly. Close to or next to?
next to close
Yeah, I
to
think it's
godliness,
next to.
cleanliness is next to godliness.
I
Okay,
say
yeah.
close to.
Close to, next to, it's all the same thing. I'm sure the phrase was probably originally in Latin anyway, and so
Yeah,
who
yeah.
like
It's
knows,
all in the translation. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and you were right. I think you were more accurate than everyone else who's ever said that. Okay, Erin, I need to ask you your final thoughts and a rating. Now,
Okay.
for this rating, one thing that I liked about Sean Bell was his he loved Kesha, and he has a Kesha ringtone on his phone, and he
Yes.
was just full on like, "What? Kesha's the best. Leave me alone." Loved it. I'm gonna ask you how many Kesha ringtones this book was for you. 1 out of 5 Kesha ringtones means you didn't like it. 5 out of 5 Kesha ringtones means you loved it.
5 out of 5 ringtones for me.
Same.
Yeah, it was really good. I was like excited to come home and read it. I started it early because I was like, well, what if this like takes me a long time? Like it came in the mail and I was like, oh, this is kind of long. Becky, 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
I think the first day I read like 200 something pages.
Yeah. It's so engrossing. Like there were times where I'm like, before I'd be like, I don't feel like watching TV. I feel like I had time to relax, and I was like, I'd rather read this book, you know, than watch TV.
Yes.
It's
same.
so
I finished it
good.
like truly like 5 or 6 days ago. Like I read it so quickly. Yeah.
Loved it. I thought it was so smart, and it was just, it's a brilliant, like, honestly, I think it's like when someone's like, hey, like, like romance writing isn't good or whatever. If someone ever says that, I'm like, well, read you know what I mean? Like, you're wrong.
I
Here's
really
why.
am. So this is the one to recommend because truly this is the second one I've read. So you see the range now that it's all with you.
I mean,
it is funny too because like I put it in my purse because I was taking a friend to the doctor. It was gonna be like a long appointment, so I was like ready to go.
Of course,
and it was a very kind of like gross hospital. Like it was Kaiser Sunset, which great doctors, gross location, gross
I get
hospital.
it. Yeah.
And so I was in this dingy waiting room. I have my N95 mask on because I'm still cautious. My reading glasses hitched on top of that, and I start reading this book, and I'm like getting hot. And I was like, this is the fucking funniest time to be like engrossed in a sexy book when I'm like in this like gross hospital. I didn't even like, he had like texted me. He was almost about to come out, didn't see my phone.
Oh
he
my
comes
God.
out. I'm like, hi, are you ready?
That is amazing. I was like, I get it. That's so funny. I read the first book like the first time I was seeing a pelvic floor, like not like a pelvic floor doctor, and I was like reading the first book in the waiting room, like getting hot, and I'm like, okay, someone's gonna like go inside my pelvis now. Maybe I shouldn't read this book.
I mean,
like,
in a way,
now.
that's the best thing to read because you're
It
like
would be,
more like your
into my
body would be more ready. But I know what you mean is like you don't then want them to be like, oh,
hello.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. I guess you came ready to rumble.
I know. Yeah, I didn't want them to be like, "Oh, were you reading Priest by Sierra Simone in the waiting room like I was?" Like, I'd like, no. Like,
Quite honestly, though, they should have books like that in that waiting room.
You know what? You are 100% correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Were you ever a fan of Bust magazine?
Yeah.
So I went on and off with it. Like I think it's more I think it's much more for younger women, but I loved it when I was like a teenager and early 20s. The one thing I have never liked about it and really makes me so annoyed is that they have the one-handed read where people like write and it's never good. Like also maybe it is, but it's like I feel like everyone's sexual turn-ons are so specific. That it's probably not going to do it for. And like I've never read one of them and gotten hot. I've always like read them and been like, really? This is what? And I'm just like, have regular fiction or have something so dirty that if I'm not into it, I'm at least entertained.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, exactly. Be entertained, like with like, because it was always like the one-handed reads was like, oh, you're imagining yourself in, you know, fine. And it's like, well, if an office fucking on the copy machine does it for you, then like great. But if it's like that's a fantasy that doesn't do it for you and like nothing else brings you in, then it's like kind of like, well, I'm not gonna enjoy this.
There's very little specificity.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just like is like, oh, you can like, I don't know. I'm like, you can make erotica an interesting story. Like you can make it art, you know? And like,
I mean, this book is evidence of that because I am not into religious themes. I don't like religious movies. Like I steer very clear of that because I just don't have an interest in it. I've started podcasts sometimes with people I like, and if they're like, oh yeah, I was raised religiously, I'm like, next. I'm like, I just never, I don't care about it. I don't need to hear about it. I know people find it very interesting and I don't.
Right.
I find it very judgy and repressed. And so
Yes.
because this novel was so like breaking my understandings of it, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I love that this is like a very specific genre that I have no knowledge of. It was great.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, it like brings me so much joy that you loved it. I think it
Thank you for
could.
choosing it. Truly,
Oh
you
my
like went
God.
above and beyond, above
Oh,
and beyond.
like, I didn't write it. Come on. I just was like, I know what you
But
need,
you really, because
lady.
I said to you, like, I would love to do your podcast again. And I think I said two things. I was like, I hated 50 Shades of Grey, and let's do something really dirty.
Yeah.
And
And I
this
was like,
it wasn't like horrifying dirty, but it was like
no, yeah.
very
It
hot.
was taboo. There was a taboo element that like it was dirty, like, and I mean dirty in like in a reverent way, you know, like
Yes,
dirt, like
yes.
it was like, okay, we're like these are the taboos of this society. They're breaking it. Therefore, in this book, it's dirty in a
Yeah.
very fun, loving, hot way. I loved it.
Yes.
I loved this book.
I loved it.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you did. It makes me so happy.
Thank you so much for having me on again.
Oh my God. Thank you for coming back on. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us about your podcast, things like that. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
the whole spiel that they do that
that they
the people
do.
love.
You can find me
Mm-hmm.
at Girl with a Tail. I just recently learned no one else says at.
This
I've
whole
been
time?
saying I've been saying the at as if like, do you not know how, like I'm like teaching people how to use social media. So first you put at.
I've always said at Beckles too. Oh no.
Oh, well then maybe it's okay. I at some point noticed that no one else was saying it and I was like, "Oh God, I'm so old." I don't know.
Me
Okay.
too. It's
Girl
fine.
with a tail. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a podcast called College Town on Comedy Bang Bang World with Seth Morris, and Becky was just a guest. So
Oh,
definitely go listen. It is behind a paywall, but you get so many amazing podcasts by signing up. It's very cheap.
it's worth
And
it. Yeah.
yeah, you
I love the podcast. I love listening to it. Like, and it's
thank
so
you.
much fun. Yeah.
I know when you came on and said you'd actually been listening, I was so
Yeah.
excited.
Oh my God, I loved it. Well, I love you as a performer. I love you and Seth so much. And so, I mean,
Thank
now I'm
you.
just going to like suck up to you. But it is a very fun podcast. Like, I really do enjoy it.
Thank you. I love doing it. I love doing it with Seth. He's the best. He's so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Erin, may God be with you.
May God be with you. Bless you, my child, for you
I
have
have
sinned.
sinned.
And remember, kids, if it doesn't go in your tum tum, it doesn't go up your
go
bum
in your
bum.
bum bum. Hey, if you like this podcast, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Too Stupid to Live is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. For more podcasts you'll love, visit frolic.media/podcasts. To check out the amazing synopsis that I wrote, you can check out the show page at tstlpodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.